The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think he missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Hello and welcome to Illinois for the second round in the HPP Simulation Pursuit of the Pedals in the 2016 iROC HPP Simulation Truck Series. This is the True Power Oil 150 at Chicagoland Speedway, and we're going to have it all for you live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Tanner Sharp. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and our camera sets are provided by Dougie Beard. This race tonight is being brought to you by True Power Motor Oil, whose products include True Power Racing Oil, True Power Engine Treatment, and True Power Clutch Spray. Check them out at www.holein1motorsports.biz and click on the tab that says True Power Oil Products to find out more. 2 weeks ago, these drivers began the pursuit of the pedals with a road course race up in Canada. Some drivers fared well, others not so much. But for all of our drivers tonight, Tanner, returning to familiar stomping grounds this week at Chicagoland Speedway.
Yes, sir, Sam. We are finally back turning left and not right. But if you do turn right, you're in the wall. Today, we're turning left at the Chicagoland Speedway. It is a 1.5-mile oval, and it's a very unique oval, Sam. You're turning constantly at this racetrack. There is that backstretch back there. It is turning. It is not straight. It is a turn. But there is 4 turns here at this track with 18 degrees of banking in the corners of the track. Very bumpy, I may add, in a fixed setup. 100 laps these guys will be turning tonight here in Chicago with a 60% fuel load. You know, it's about 1 to 2 pit stops, but I bet some guys are going to be pitting early for some tires because I'm telling you, this track can abuse tires, and we're riding on the same pavement as this track ever since 2001 when this track first started out. So 69 degrees air temperature, 94 degree track temperature. So it's a little cooler. It's less than 100 degrees. So these guys might feel tight on a longer run, maybe looser on fresh tires, but they'll be getting a lot of grip on them tires as well. So, and the wind is bouncing a little bit with realistic weather, 5 to 8 miles an hour here, Sam. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a long day for some drivers and a short day for some others drivers. But before we get into all that, let's take a 2-hour lap guide here on the Global Sim Racing channel.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Brian Yazik, taking you for a spin around the Chicagoland Speedway in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado. Chicagoland is a fun little 1.5-mile oval, gives the drivers a lot of room to run, and it's just a lot of fun in this truck. So down into turn 1, let it float the bottom, roll out of the gas just for a split second, back all the way full throttle, hug that white line, drive it straight out here to the fence, make sure not to touch it. Down the somewhat curved backstretch, down into turn 3, you're really only rolling out about half throttle, back into about that point in the corner, back into the gas, all the way out of the corner. For qualifying times, you might see guys run all the way down here on this flat surface. A little bit quicker, but not really banked, so it could be an issue later in the race. Still, you might be able to run up there in that second groove as the run progresses, but I still think the winner today is going to be the one that can make their truck work on the bottom, coming off the corner the best. Down into turn 3 once again, out of the gas about halfway, let it roll, and then find a set back into the gas right about there. Driving it straight out towards the wall, out of turn 4, onto the apron, across the line, and that's going to complete our track guide here around the Chicagoland Speedway. I'm Brian Yazik. Enjoy the show.
So that's how you get around Chicagoland Speedway. Practice has finished. The drivers are actually qualifying on course right now. Let's talk about the drivers. We say this is round 2 of the Pursuit of the Pedals. That's their version of the Chase for the Championship, where if you win the championship at the end of the season, you win a set of HPP simulation pedals. Sounds like a very good prize indeed. Who's going to get it? Well, it's one of these 12 drivers, and in 2 rounds it will be down to just 8 Pursuit drivers. The bottom 4 will be knocked off. So you're going to want to be there in those top 8. For Jordan Erickson, as he won at Mosport, as long as he shows up today, which he has, and he shows up at New Hampshire in 1 week's time, he is one of those 8 drivers advancing. But we were just discussing, while we were showing the lap guide, Hannah, it's very tight down at the bottom. In my opinion, Jeffrey Gilliam's the only one who cannot afford to run into trouble tonight. But you're saying you think drivers around Bryce Whitson, Robert Barney need to be looking at a top 5, if not a win today.
Yeah, they need to stay consistent because you're right there on the borderline on possibly not making the next round. So the strategy plan, in my opinion, for those guys is they need to get a good finish. If they're racing really aggressively, don't get involved because it's going to fan out later on, and just do whatever you can do to get a good finish. Because if Bryce Whitson or Robert Barney has a bad finish here at Chicagoland Speedway, that's going to put him down in points. That's only going to give him one more shot at trying to make the next round, and the top 8 advance through. So keep an eye on those guys today. I'm trying to run up front and, having a good consistent finish, and also keep an eye on Jeffrey Gilliam, since he's really pretty much on the borderline on possibly not making the next round. He's only 11 points out on not making the next round, so keep an eye on Jeffrey Gilliam. Hopefully he can get into the top 10 or top 5 today to gain some kind of points.
We were just watching Brian Yazik on screen. He just completed his first qualifying lap. I was keeping an eye on him because he was fastest in practice. He just went 4th fastest in qualifying. Michael Krobach is a provisional pole sitter right now. There you see Josh Tanner is in 3rd, Gary Whitson is in 2nd, and Michael Krobach up top. You will hear us mention the Pursuit drivers' names a lot tonight because there are 23 drivers in this race and 12 of them are fighting for the championship. So that pretty much, mathematically, it guarantees that one of our Pursuit drivers will finish in the bottom half of the field.
Yes, sir. They'll finish in the bottom half of the field, but I mean, with the Pursuit for the Pedals, man, with the amount of talent this league has, and all 12 of those guys are fully capable to run up front, you want to do your best to try to stay consistent. Consistency is going to get you even closer to your next big win. So stay consistent, especially the Pursuit for the Pedals. I know those top 12 guys want the set of those pedals, so in order to get them, stay consistent and try to win races.
Jordan Erickson is the last driver on the hot lap here. He is not able to approve from 6th on the grid, and with only 40 seconds left to go in the session and no one else in track, we can confirm that we know your pole sitter here, and that is the True Power Pole Award. It's going to Michael Krobach, and he will have a pole over Gary Whitson. Let's see if we can bring our full grid up for you here. There you see Michael Krobach lined up ahead of Gary Whitson. I was going to see if Jordan was going for another lap here, but no, that was actually his in lap. He was just seeing how fast he could go. Josh Tanner and Brian Yazik lined up on the 2nd row ahead of Mark McQuarrie, a non-Pursuit driver, lined up alongside Jordan Erickson. Nick Cohan, Austin Missler, Alan Young and Bryce Whitson round out the top 10.
And outside of the top 10, we have Troy Haight starting 11th tonight, Robert Barber in 12th position, 13th, Jonathan Holstein, Edward Bray in 14th, Aaron Kleinhan starting in the 15th position, Jeffrey Gilliam on the border on possibly not making the next round. He needs a good consistent finish today or possibly a win to get in, and he's starting 16th tonight. Robert Barney in 17th, 18th, Milt Matisse, 19th is Lee Staples, rounding out the top 20, and the last driver to take a qualifying time as Michael Koenig, rounding out the top 20.
Yeah, Jackie Pelmore, Nicky Formosa and Tim Knott all did not turn the laps during qualifying, and as a matter of fact, Nicky Formosa is not in the session right now, so we will have just 22 trucks taking the green flag, which is good news actually in a way for the drivers sitting toward the top of the standings there, Tanner, because if you're, let's say you're Nick Cohan there, and you're 21 points ahead of Jeffrey Gilliam, well, the worst you can finish tonight is 22nd, so you're only going to lose about another, you're going to meet the tie-on points of Jeffrey Gilliam. Obviously, you still don't want to take that risk, but for those drivers sitting high in the pursuit standings, a small field actually helps them out a bit.
It helps them out drastically, Sam. I mean, a smaller field, which means they're able to finish up towards the points, which the guys like Jeffrey Gilliam back there, it makes them harder on him because that means he's got to get up towards the front and try to gain as many points as he can to be able to still hang in this deal. So keep an eye on all that, Sam. I'm ready to get this thing started.
And we're just waiting on Tim Knott to grid up, and sure enough, he did that just now. So now the Ford Mustang pace car is going to lead them one lap around this 1.5 mile speedway, and then a green flag will drop and the race will be underway. Pace car's taking its time a little bit. There it goes. All right. So Michael Crowbot going to lead the field away. It's going to be a 100 lap race, and that's a long race, Tanner. I mean, we were talking about how it would be a 2, perhaps even 3 stops actually based on fuel mileage, but the tyres, I mean, I've been turning some laps in these trucks this week. They're wearing off after 5-10 laps. You really want to come in for 4 fresh Goodyears.
Yes, sir. This track, it eats up the tires, and in this track, especially down in turns 3 and 4, the car, it bounces a lot because it's really bumpy down there, and the tires don't like that, but they still stick down there on fresher tires. So, and we're still on the old pavement when Chicagoland first came about back in 2001. This track's never been repaved. I think this is only one of 2 racetracks that has never been repaved since its opening. So I could be wrong on that, of course, but I mean, so these guys, like I said earlier, some drivers can come in to take fresh tires early and gain that position run.
Alright, the pace car leading them through turns 3 and 4 right now. As you mentioned, they're bumpy, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on turn 2 as well. That's where I kept spinning this week. Anyway, here we go. Michael Crowbot has control of the field as the Ford Mustang pace car peels off. He's on the lap too early. The green flag is out. We are racing here, Chicagoland Speedway.
Nice start by both Michael Krobach and Gary Whitson with the first side-by-side battle between Josh Tanner and Ryan Yazik as they go side-by-side down into turn 1 and 2.
Sure enough they do, but of course these drivers are running flat out as they build up speed, so the drivers on the inside in turns 1 and 2 had an advantage. Ryan Yazik going to attempt to counter-attack on the inside of turns 3 and 4, but Josh Tanner, he probably has that foot flat to the pedal soon with as good as these Goodyear tyres are, and he's looking for second on the outside of Gary Whitson.
Believe it or not, Sam, on a longer run, there's usually a little more grip on the higher line than the bottom line there, Sam, and sometimes if you're running on the bottom too much as the run goes on, you can get tight and push up the racetrack, especially out of turn number 2. And Josh Tanner really making a run for second place and all over the back bumper of the race leader, Michael Krobach, as they head down to turn number 3.
Take care of your tyres early on in the run, and they'll take care of you at the end of the run. Some of these drivers seem to be forgetting that right now. Now, of course, you see a lot of these drivers go in below the apron on the front straight. That is completely legal, but you do have to be careful when you merge back up on the track that you don't get into one another. So far, it's been clean for the opening 2 laps.
So far, it's been clean, and these guys, you mentioned it, Sam, have to be careful coming off turn number 2. So far, every driver is holding their own, and you also want to be careful entering the corner as well, because if you get on the brakes a little too hard here, which in the trucks, you shouldn't be able to get in the brakes that hard, but usually it's in a cup car or beat car that you get on the brakes just a little bit, and the back end of the car wants to spin around. In the trucks, there shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Jordan Erickson moves up into 4th by Gary Whitson. Gary's dropping back a bit early on. I'm almost wondering if he's trying to conserve his tyres a little bit here, if we'll see him make a comeback towards the end of the run.
A little bit. I'm trying to keep an eye on drivers like Bryce Whitson, and actually the driver I'm really keeping an eye on is Jeffrey Gilliam, see how he's doing. He's all the way back in the 18th position, started 16th. He's fallen back 2 spots since the start of the race. I think he just got around the 66 truck there. That was Edward Gray for 17th.
Yeah, that's definitely not what Jeffrey Gilliam needs tonight, but now these cars are going to start wearing off, and that's where the exit of the turns are going to get particularly interesting, seeing if any of these trucks snap loose. If they do, will they get in the wall or go for a spin in the infield? Didn't happen this lap. You mentioned Bryce Whitson. He has a good battle going on for ninths right now with Alan Young.
Yes, sir, and it's cars all over the place. 3 wide right here. Car down the apron. Gotta be careful coming back up and understanding where everybody is. Oh, they're wrecking!
Is this a single car wreck? Alan Young is spinning back down the track. Somehow he was the only one involved.
I think there's gonna be 2 trucks out of this that's at least gonna have damage.
No free repairs.
Yeah, that was Robert Barber. The guy in the right rear quarter panel of Alan Young there. That brings up the first caution.
Yeah, they were running 3 wide down the front straight, and then Barber kind of came down to the middle a little bit there, and fortunately Alan Young hitting that wall kind of kept him up at the top of the track and prevented him from getting hit any harder. There's still going to be significant repairs in the pit though. Alan Young, not one of the pursuit drivers. He sits 14th in the points, one of the top drivers to not make the pursuit. Meanwhile, we expect pit road to be a very busy place, as we'll get a replay here from onboard Tim Knott.
Yeah, on board here with Tim Knott. This is coming off of turn number 4 right here. But you mentioned pit road, Sam. You're expecting it to be a very busy place. I tend to agree with you. I think every driver's going to come down and get at least 4 fresh tires. I know it's about 6-7 laps into a race, and from what I'm seeing, every single driver coming down pit road. Now it's just a matter of who's got the guts, or if you want to say that in that phrase, of who's going to take 2 tires.
Bryce Whitson and Robert Barney, keep an eye on them. They're 2 drivers that when they're racing in the middle of a field, they don't really like doing that much, and they've been known to take 2 tires before and gain track position early that way. But we'll wait and see. Michael Krobach hit his mark, so if everyone takes 4 tires, theoretically he should win the race off pit road.
I see a couple guys taking 2 tires.
Jordan Erickson,
Nick Cohan.
And that looks like it. Oh, maybe Aaron Kleinhans too, but he didn't beat Michael Krobach.
I don't think he beat Krobach. That's
actually a lot of trucks took 2 tires. Troy Haight, Jonathan Holstein.
Wow. Yeah, some 2-tire gambles going on here.
Not sure I agree with it, but these drivers are faster than me. I'll tell you that. I was telling our director if I'd been in this race, judging by how I'd been practicing here on iRacing, I would have started 22nd. So I'm really not one to talk about these guys' strategy.
Well, I always say qualifying trim is always different from race trim. I mean, you could probably start in the back in a race, and then before you know it, you're probably in the top 10.
That's what Jeffrey Gilliam will be hoping for, that's for sure, but he came out of the pits in 14th, so slowly moving up. You see the top 10 actually listed there on your screen right now.
Yeah, Kleinhans took 2. Kind of scrolling through the field here. I think Troy Haight, Jonathan Holstein is another one, as you mentioned, Sam. Another driver took 2 tires, Robert Barney, but he's all the way back in the 12th position. I'm not sure if I agree with all that calls.
Yeah, I wonder if Barney... are you sure Barney took 2 there? Because that's around where he was... that's around where he came in. I almost wonder if he took 4 tires there.
I don't think he did, actually. But at least on my screen, he blinked out, though. I couldn't necessarily see. I think he took 4.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. If he drops back immediately, we'll know he's definitely on 2. Anyway, the pace car lights are off. We're about to restart this race at the completion of lap 9. First caution for 2 cars getting together. Alan Young got the worst of it. He is still in the pits getting repairs. Jordan Erickson, one at Motorsport. He's about to lead the field back to green here. The Mustang is off. Erickson can go whenever he feels like it. Now he finally goes, but the rest of the field is close behind him.
Yeah, Jordan Erickson, nice jump on the 2 tires, but watch out, Michael Krobach on 4 fresh tires and it. 1 pit stall. A following Aaron Kleinhans out. He's already battling for the second position and possibly gaining more as they come off turn number 2.
Yeah, I think Krobok should get the lead shortly. Of course, Ericsson has clean air to his advantage. Nick Cohan back there in third now does not. We're going to want to keep an eye on Cohan because he is one of the pursuit drivers sitting there second in point centre in tonight's race.
I'm trying to keep an eye on Aaron Kleinhans here. He's already dropped the back position since the restart. He's so far in the top 5, but he's got guys behind him like Troy Haight and Brian Yazik. I think Yazik's another driver that took 4 tires as well.
Here, Krobok's looking for the lead. He's got his nose underneath Ericsson. Still, Ericsson shuts the door.
Knock, knock on heaven's door here, and all over the back bumper is Nick Cohan.
Yeah, I think Krobok had to lift more than he wanted to. He probably didn't expect that move from Ericsson, and that cost him speed there.
Man, you really got to be careful coming up from the apron and transitioning yourself back onto the racetrack because Cohan really shut the door on Josh Tanner there.
A lot of shutting doors, and it's early on in the race. How bad is it going to be later on when these drivers perhaps aren't too happy with each other and racing really hard for the position at the line? Ericsson going defensive. Krobok stays out on the track, but this is a longer way around. This could actually cost him second to Cohan here.
It can, and it looks like 2 tires not really making a difference to the 4 fresh tires that Krobok has, Sam. So it was a good strategy call on Cohan and Ericsson part and Aaron Kleinhans. Kleinhans dropped back to 6th, but still remaining in the top 10.
Boy, it's tight racing here as they come around to complete lap 13. Ericsson has the lead. This is what he wants to see as these drivers battling for second right now. He's ahead of all the trouble if it breaks out.
Yes, sir. I wonder if these guys have a plate race in the chase, I believe, or in the pursuit. And it almost looks like they're plate racing at Chicagoland just a little bit.
Boy, these two have been running side by side for a whole lap almost. And Nick Cohan finally beginning to get an edge. Of course, one thing they've got to think about here is that the tyres are going to be wearing off.
Yeah, the harder you run side by side, the more you're wearing off them tires a little bit. And I think the guy that's sitting in the capper seat on saving a little bit of tires is probably Brian Yazik. I mean, he got really nowhere to go unless he decides to take him 3 wide, but I'm sure he doesn't really want to do that at this point of the race.
Meanwhile, for Alan Young fans, his truck has returned to the track, but he is multiple 6 laps down though. Although granted, there's no one else a lap down. If a caution came out, he would get the DSD Lucky Dog. No, we'll keep an eye on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only car that's pretty much lapped down, as you said there, Sam, and trying to keep an eye through the field here. I think Troy Haight's another guy that took 2 tires. He's hanging pretty well in the top 10. Just ahead of him is another 2-tire guy. That is Aaron Kleinhans, and who is that all over Troy Haight? That's Robert Barney.
Yeah, I'm going to say we weren't entirely sure how many tyres Robert Barney took because he blinked out, as Aaron Kleinhans pushes tight on the exit of 4 there because he blinked out during his pit stop. This definitely indicates they took 4 tyres because he restarted in 12th and he just took 8th place from Troy Haight.
Now, we were talking, Sam, on the pursuit guys and their chances on where they got to finish in this race to, stay consistent to be prepared for the next round. But we were talking Jeffrey Gilliam. He's still back mirrored in 14th place, still back pretty much in traffic, and I don't think he's really bum rushing it right now. I think he's a driver that did take 4 tires and still mirrored back in traffic, but staying out of trouble for that. That's the most good part.
Yeah, this is really early on in this race. Like I say, I think this is one of the longer races each drivers have. In 1 week's time, they'll be at New Hampshire, and if I'm not mistaken, that's also a 100-lap race. Like I say, I could be mistaken there. And that's a lot shorter track to get around. These drivers have a lot of miles of racing left to go. And right now, as you mentioned, Jeffrey Gilliam just staying out of trouble is probably good news for him. Meanwhile, the trouble could be brewing up front where Cohan has run down Ericsson.
Cohan's been all over that back bumper of Ericsson, man. Like, he wants to pass, but he's trying to be a little patient with it. Yazik's going underneath for 3rd spot, underneath Josh Tanner there in the 84 machine. Got that true power oil all hooked up in that number 15 machine there.
I didn't quite catch what happened to Crowbot, but he's dropped all the way back to 6th place now, which was surprising given that he had been the fastest truck of a race up until the last point. I guess I was paying attention to him. Don't really know how he got back that far.
Yeah, I am not seeing any damage on that number 7 car. I think he just lost positions.
Could have burned off his tyres trying to battle Ericsson and Cohan early on in the run. Meanwhile, talking about tyres, we talked about how Brian looked to be saving them. He's looking for second on Cohan now.
Yeah, Brian, as I say, he's got that True Power oil in that truck right there, and he's moving forward. True Power.
Yeah, True Power oil, but unfortunately not extra grippy tyres. He couldn't quite pull off a move on the inside of Cohan. So I have to settle for third for now. Meanwhile, that's Gary Whitson making the move for fourth behind him over Gary Whitson. Over Josh Tanner.
Man, oh man, of all the weeks, I've seen all the Chicagoland races on iRacing here. And oh man, a little contact in the right rear panel there. Nick Cohan gave to Ericsson. Ericsson's truck wiggled just a tick. And that's now allowing Cohan to get underneath him. And Yazik's thinking about more.
Yeah, well, those two battling side by side for just that tiny bit of time led to Yazik to try and make a move here now. Oh boy, Yazik could be getting very loose there. He has the air being taken off his right side, the air being taken off his rear from Gary Whitson behind him. That does play an effect on iRacing, just like it does in real life, but Brian Yazik survives, and he might be able to emerge from turn 2 with second position.
I think Yazik's already got this track figured out. Oh, he's moving. He's making that bottom work.
Well, we know Yazik, I think, was turning laps around here in a private practice session before they all got ready for qualifying, and then he came into this practice session and just went faster, so we know he's fast. He only qualified 4th, he's made it up to 2nd, but as he battles Cohan for 2nd here, you can see Jordan Ericsson is disappearing a bit.
Hey, look at this pack of cars, Sam, in the top 5. I mean, you got Jordan Ericsson ahead, and you got Yazik, Cohan, Gary Whitson, Josh Tanner, Michael Krobach, Robert Barney's joined the mix, who restarted outside the top 20. I mean, that's a 7-car pack.
Mark McCrary in 9th position is the first driver, and I believe I'm right in this, the first driver not in the pursuit. So if all these drivers wreck, it's going to have significant championship implications.
Kleinhans! Aaron Kleinhans, off track.
Hard to find him because he's in the lime green truck in the lime green grass. Oh, hardware. He's got hardware trouble. Wow, he was lucky he didn't get hit.
Oh, I think he did get hit.
Meanwhile, Brian Yazik just took over the race lead. We'll see if he gets...
He got hit, Sam. Robert Barber smoking.
That's a shame for Robert Barber then, and he's coming into the pits for repairs. He might be joined by a few of our leaders soon because they're still pack racing up here. We mentioned as we watched Cleanhouse come back on the track here and Barber just clips him. Back to live, Brian Yazik has taken over the race lead from Jordan Ericsson, but the battle is still wild from third on back.
Oh yeah, third on back. I just feel like I'm watching Talladega and Daytona all over again, but in this case, it's at the Chicagoland Speedway, which is much, much different than Daytona and Talladega. As these guys are still in a big pack of cars. It was one time it was a top 7 altogether.
Now, Aaron Cleanhans, we get confirmation his internet is down, it looks like, so that's unfortunate for the driver of the number 85, especially considering he was not in the top 8 in the pursuit coming into tonight. He's definitely not going to be in the top 8 in the pursuit leaving tonight, so he is basically going to need to win at New Hampshire next week.
That's very valuable points there, Sam, especially when you get like pretty much a 22, 23 car field here that we have here tonight at Chicago. I mean, you're losing pretty significant points, especially if you're outside looking in the top 8.
Meanwhile, Brian Yazik is doing absolutely the opposite. He has a significant lead over Jordan Ericsson right now, but we know these trucks can get about 32 laps on fuel. We didn't think that would be an issue due to the excessive tyre wear around here. They had a caution that they got back to green flag on lap 9, So we should see pit stops coming up within the next 10 laps if we don't see an incident before then.
Yes, sir, Sam. I mean, after these guys made their pit stops, we did run 2 more laps under the caution flag. So technically, these drivers have about 20 laps green flag on these tires. So about 10 laps approximately for sure.
Let's give you a rundown of the order as we approach the third race distance in the top 10. It is Brian Jarzik leading Jordan Eriksson. There you see it on your screen. Nick Cohan in third. Gary Whitson in fourth place. He dropped back early on, remember. I think he's trying to save his cars for the long run here. Robert Barney has worked his way all the way up to fifth. After restarting in the middle of the field, Josh Tanner's in sixth position ahead of Michael Krobach and Mark McCrary as our first non-pursuit driver. Troy Haight then in ninth, and Bryce Whitson rounds up the top 10.
Battle for second going on. Jordan Eriksson and Nick Cohan. Once again, these guys were battling for the race lead earlier in this race. Nick Cohan gets underneath Eriksson. That's twice he got him on the bottom on the exit turn 2. And right behind him, we got a 3-wide situation.
Yeah, Gary Whitson, I think, must have got loose or tight, or basically had to roll out of a throttle, or else he was going to hit the wall out of turn 2. Robert Barney had to take evasive action and go downstairs, and then that also made it a 3-wide situation with Josh Tanner. The big loser here is Gary Whitson. He may go from 4th to 6th.
Robert Barney got a little loose there, transition from the apron to the racetrack there. Michael Krobach, pole sitter, back in the 7th position there. Still running well in the top 10, but he's still falling back. And I don't know if he's saving his tires or saving a little gas to gain an extra mileage on the guys if this does turn into a fuel mileage race. But that's something to keep an eye on for Krobach.
Yeah, speaking of fuel mileage, we have had some drivers begin a round of stops here. Troy Haight, who was running in the top 10, he just came into the pit.
Yeah, I think he was one of the 2-tire guys there, Sam. Yes, he was. 21's big. That's Cohan.
Yes, so Cohan announcing that he's coming into the pits this lap earlier than what we thought, honestly, and you see most of the field is still staying out.
I believe that's not good on Nick Cohan, not Nick Cohan, but Troy Haight's part, because he did overdrive his pit stall just a little bit. That required him to back up. So 4 tires going on that number 82 machine of Troy Haight, and he's away.
Now the advantage Cohan is going to have here is 4 fresh good, and he overshoots his pit stall, I think, a little bit, and that is very. We're not quite sure if he did. To me, it looked like he did, but the thing is here, Cohan is going to have much faster tires as Bryce Whitson now comes into the pit. We'll actually see he could end up leading this race after this round of stops.
Yeah, Nick Cohan did not overdrive his pit stall. He was safe. He got close, but he's safe. He got 4 fresh tires on that thing, and he's out and away. Meanwhile, Bryce Whitson coming down pit road. He almost overshoots his pit stall, but he gets safely in his box. Right sides are going to go up, and a full tank of fuel. I think he's going to go for 4 fresh tires as well.
Jordan Eriksson comes in but gets tapped by Robert Barney from behind, and Robert Barney got hit from behind by Josh Tanner. So 3 of our top runners right there now have damage. They all kept it pointing in the right direction. Josh Tanner, I think, got the worst of it. If you look at the front end of his number 84 machine, that's all squashed in.
He did, but how much bad did that affect that front end nose of Robert Barney? Because you don't want any damage on that front end nose. That is for aerodynamic purposes, really, Sam. Because if you're going down the straightaway and your front end nose is damaged, you might lose some speed on the backstretch.
And Jordan Eriksson had typed in the chat that he was coming in. I think there's a bit of a disagreement with the drivers over whether he'd done a good enough job of letting them know. Maybe those drivers had their text chat turned off. I don't know what the league rules are on that.
Robert Barney's in.
Yeah, probably to get those repairs.
Either that or it's time to go down pit road. 4 fresh tires getting on that number 16 machine. He did, and believe it or not, Sam, Robert Barney entering his pit stall here, he did overshoot his pit stall.
Tanner spins out, entering the pits. Josh Tanner, that ain't going to help him. I think he kept it off the wall, but that's going to cost him a lot of time.
He hit the wall. Actually, he's already got front end nose damage before he even hit the wall. I think he tapped the wall just a tick.
replay. It's very hard to get it wound up coming off of turn 4 here, and the transition of a banking is really what threw him off.
We have the race leader in. Brian Yazik's pitting. We got tons of cars pitting right now, Sam. You got number 13 of Gary Whitson pitting. 61 Jeffrey Gilliam's pitting.
Yeah, not all of them though. Lee Staples, Edward Bray and Jonathan Holstein are still out there circulating on the circuit, so these drivers could get more out of their gas tanks, and the reason we're watching Nick Cohan here is because we think he's going to be our leader once this is all said and done.
Yeah, that's the advantage, but I mean, if we remain green, I think these guys are pitting now. We'll catch them in a later run.
And Cohan is leading by a country mile over Yazik. I'm watching the interval build up over them now. It's going to level off somewhere between 5 to 6 seconds.
Well, I have to see. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you see, Eric. Yazik has also lost out to Bryce Whitson and Jordan Erickson. Jordan Erickson, meanwhile, did a masterful job to not spin out after being hit in the rear as he was entering the pit.
Well, I took a look at that replay again there, Sam. Jordan Erickson, when he got hit, the car didn't even flinch. I mean, it was like no reaction. There was there's damage on the rear bumper, yes, but it's like the car didn't even spin out or anything.
Of course, the reason we see Bryce Whitson up there in what will essentially be second position now as Jonathan Holstein and Edward Bray pit. Bryce Whitson was also a driver early into the pits, which means he might lose second place to Jordan Erickson in the not too distant future and Brian Yazik, but right now he's holding on to second.
Tell you what here, Sam, after this pretty much, we got at number 66 Edward Bray down pit road, who is our race leader, but more than likely, as you said, Nick Cohan's going to be our race leader at the end of this round of green flag pit stops. Here's Nick Cohan. He's coming off turn 4. He is at the line now, and Whitson's at the line now, along with Brian Yazik. So that's the gap between race leader Nick Cohan and Bryce Whitson in second.
Yeah, 5.5 seconds to be exact, and they have resumed the race lead. Everyone has cycled through their first round of green flag stops, their second round of stops overall after they all came down pit road in that earlier caution. Good battle for second though.
Yeah, three car battle for second. I don't think that rear end damage is really affecting Jordan Erickson. I mean, he's still remaining well in the top 5. He's about 185 miles an hour already. Entering the corner of turn number 1, and he's got Brian Yazik all over him.
Yes, we're approaching the halfway point here at the True Power Oil 150. And True Power Racing Oil, by the way, is formulated from 100% crystal clear pure synthetics, while True Power Engine Treatment is formulated with 100% pure power advanced synthetic technology to treat the metal surfaces on both gasoline and diesel fueled engines. Find out more about True Power Oil products, which includes True Power Clutch Spray, at www.holein1motorsports.biz and click on the tab that says True Power Oil products to find out more. Yazik's got some True Power right now. There he goes, up into second.
I said he's got that True Power Oil all hooked up in that number 15 machine and moving forward. Another driver, Sam, I've been kind of keeping an eye on was Robert Barney. He's back there in the 19th position, 5 laps down. He was the guy that bumped Jordan Erickson, and I think he had some heavy front-end nose damage, and I think he took the time to fix that number 16 machine.
And that's unfortunate if he can't recover from that, because he was 8th. He's basically in the bubble position entering this pursuit race. Now, Robert Barney is a driver who we definitely expect to be able to contend for a Wyndham winner race. He just hasn't done it this season. We've been waiting for him to finally break through. He just hasn't quite got there yet. I'm sure he will eventually. The problem is unless he does it next week at New Hampshire, he might not be able to fight for the championship.
Yeah, Robert Barney, 5 top 5s and 12 top 10s. I mean, he's consistent enough to win races. It's just a matter when you're going to come through to break that losing streak, or however you want to put it, you know. So Robert Barney, fully capable on win races. Oh, he's down in the apron, Sam. Something's wrong.
Yeah, he might still have some mechanical damage there. He's not entirely happy. And sure enough, he's coming back into the pits. Not going to be a solid finish, and it looks like he's done. Very unfortunate there for Robert Barney. He might as well begin going to New Hampshire and turn in some practice laps now. Meanwhile, I've been keeping an eye on the interval between Nick Cohan and Brian Jarzik. Brian is catching at a couple of tenths a lap, but I think right now Nick Cohan's made a good strategy call here, Tanner.
I think he has, and by pitting early like that, and Brian Jarzik did stay out a couple laps after Nick Cohan did, I believe, just a couple laps. And that was the difference between a couple. Oh, yeah, definitely. It's been 16 laps now since Nick Cohan pitted, and it's been 11 laps since Brian Jarzik pitted. So that's a 5-lap difference between Jarzik and Cohan, and the results show right now a 5-second lead over Brian Jarzik. So that was a great strategy call on Nick Cohan's part. He's out there leading the race. But let's see, before we get to the next round of green flag pit stops, let's see how close Jarzik will catch Cohan.
And of course, Nick Cohan is definitely a driver we know who can get the job done. One of our pursuit drivers. He has won 5 races this season. No one else has won more than 3, and that's Jordan Erickson, who has won 3. So Nick Cohan definitely looking in a good position to lock himself into the next round of a pursuit right now, the elimination round of 8, which will begin in 2 rounds time. And honestly, I think it would be a bigger headline if Nick Cohan didn't make it in. We kind of expect him to be fighting for the championship at the end of the season.
Yes, sir. Nick Cohan, the jerky man, out front. And, I mean, every week he's playing some sort of strategy. And it usually does pay off fairly well for Nick. So, keep going, Nick.
And things have really gotten spread out here, and I think that's helping these drivers keep it clean. I mean, that seems like something obvious to say, but I think the high speeds around here at Chicagoland, when the drivers race around each other, the air really throws them all a bit of a curveball, and you see spins and such. But when they're spread out like this, they don't have to worry about the air off of the other trucks. It kind of just leads them out here for a Sunday drive, and they get to think about other things, such as what to do for their pit strategy for their second round of stops. And I've got to say, right now, Tanner, it looks like as soon as you see Nick Cohan coming in for his second stop, you might as well follow him.
Might as well follow him, and if I was Brian Jarzik, man, I know you're catching him, but 4.8, I mean, you're gaining little by little on him, but we're pretty much a little bit we are halfway or a little bit past halfway this fuel run here, and he did at the line, he just gained a 10th at the line on Nick Cohan. So I would try to come in pit early to gain some of that time back and try to keep pace with Nick Cohan.
Meanwhile, we just saw a move for 10th place here, Jeffrey Gilliam. We've been watching him slowly but surely work his way up through the field. He is the lowest driver in the points coming into today's race. He really needs a solid finish. Not sure top 10 will get it done, but certainly a step in the right direction. And hey, he's got half a race left to pick up some more.
Yes, sir, and he just pretty much cracked the top 10 for the first time today, Sam, and if I was Jeffrey Gilliam, since we're coming down to it, we are past the halfway point here, Sam, so with that being said, and right now I'm thinking like a crew chief, 47 laps to go. Man, that's a really tough call, because this race might turn into a fuel strategy race, because you can only go about 30 laps on a 60% fuel load in these trucks. So, that's a tough call right there. I would just try to do everything I can to stay consistent within that top 10. If you got to pit again, pit early.
So we've documented the troubles for Aaron Kleinhans, who looks like he will struggle to get through the elimination round of 12 to the elimination round of 8. Robert Barney is a driver we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on at New Hampshire. The other driver not having a great time out there right now is Josh Tanner. Of course, with that damage, he is down there in 18th place, 1 lap down. And Josh Tanner does have 1 win this season. I'm almost wondering if we might have to get a second one at New Hampshire next time out. Now, the advantage Josh Tanner has over Robert Barney is that, of course, he's still in the race. And if a caution flew right now, he would get the DST lucky dog could put him back in contention. But right now, if Josh Tanner were to finish back here, we would definitely have the cameras on him in New Hampshire. Meanwhile, if there's another caution, here's where it might be happening. Look at this scrap for fourth.
Oh, yeah, that's a big mess for fourth place back here. Jordan Erickson pretty much leading that pack. Just ahead of him is Gary Whitson, but if you want to count as a pack, it's Jordan Erickson, Bryce Whitson, Michael Krobach, and Mark McCrary. Mark McCrary, the top running non-pursuit driver, running in the top 10. He's getting underneath Bryce Whitson there.
Yeah, well, remember, Bryce was one of our first drivers to pit. So now it looks like his tyres are falling off a bit more compared to the others. He has dropped back from, what, he was in second position after the round of stops. He's now down to 7th, which still isn't bad considering he started the race in 10th. I think it's definitely enough for him to get through the elimination round of 8, but did make for a couple of hairy moments there.
Couple of hairy moments, but so far he's keeping that truck clean. I know Bryce Whitson, he's had an up and down season. Himself, he's got a little damage in the back end, but it's not affecting it. It's just that he's on older tires now, and he's pretty much just waiting for his upcoming pit stop.
Yeah, it seems to be the fall-off point of the tyres, because Kohan has been losing a lot of time to Jazik in the last couple of laps. The gap is down to 3.6 seconds now. Still looking safe for Kohan, but yeah, definitely a major interval. And it will be interesting, as you mentioned, if this goes green to the end, some drivers may be forced to pit early and have to make it on 2 more stops, where some drivers can make it on 1. Boy, Ericsson and Krobach are getting close.
Yes, sir, and as I said, I'm trying to think like the crew chief here. This is the longest pretty much green flag run as far as not pitting is concerned right now, because right now Kohan is hitting 27 laps on fresh tires, or on those tires that he has, and Jazik and Gary Whitson are all 22 laps. And the interval is still decreasing, so I think these guys are trying to determine how long I can go. And with 41 laps to go, I think these guys are going to have to make one more pit stop. I got to check back on that one.
Yeah, Michael Koenig comes down, so he's definitely going to have to make 2 more stops. He was already a lap down as it begins with. We mentioned the struggles for Josh Tanner, Aaron Greenhans and Robert Barney. I think the next pursuit driver ahead of them is actually running in a pretty solid 11th right now, and that's Milt Matisse. So most of the pursuit drivers out there having a pretty solid day, which, as we mentioned earlier, is good news for those in the top 8 in points right now. Bad news for those drivers who need some extra points.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Milt Matisse all day long, really, here, Sam. Even though he's a pursuit driver, he started back in the 18th position. He's up in the 11th position right now. He's only about a second off of Troy Haight, who's just ahead of him in the top 10. So Milt Matisse has a good shot on cracking the top 10. Another driver that's kind of moving forward in this long green flag run stint is Jeffrey Gilliam. He's cracked into the 9th position, but it's a big gap from 9th to 8th.
Yeah, Mark McCrary on camera, they're getting up in the top 5, but part of that is because Jordan Erickson has been dropping back.
Yeah, Jordan Erickson has been dropping back, and behind Erickson is Bryce Whitson, who has been dropping back because he was one of the first guys to pit. And did I hear Kohan saying he was going to pit this time or no?
Wouldn't surprise me. Yep, here he goes. Nick Kohan is coming in with 37. Well, I think he's got bigger problems here, Tanner. In that 37 laps to go, he is going to have to pit again.
Yeah, 37 laps to go, and Nick Kohan, he's been out there for 30 laps now. Now he's decided to go down pit road. Don't overdrive the pits. Don't overdrive your stall. Nice and smooth. Perfect. Now, if I was Jazik, I'd come in right now, unless you're going to try to go longer.
Yeah, you got to try and go longer if you can. I mean, right now, Kohan's not going to make it to the end on fuel, and from the indications that we've been seeing, it's going to go green to the end. Of course.
Yeah, Kohan. He's I thought he had a pit road speed penalty, but he did not. So he's all off of turn number 2 already. But yeah, Sam. I tell you what, if we do get a caution, that's going to change everything. But with everybody all fanned out and spread out, it's unlikely we're going to see a caution, but I've seen stranger things happen before.
Jordan Erickson into the pits. You see him on screen right there. The thing that bothers me, Tanner, is pretty much every time we've seen, it seems to be the, I'm not sure if it's ironic, but that's the word I'm going to use to describe it, because that's the way they made a popular song that wasn't ironic, to sell for millions of dollars. But it's almost ironic that the clean races that we always see end under caution, and the races that are wreckfests usually end under green.
It sometimes happens like that, Sam. That's just, I mean, I don't know how to really explain all that. I mean, but just pretty much say that's just racing. Races just happen to turn out like that. So it's that's just what makes things fun. But as a driver, it makes things frustrating.
Milt Matisse, another pursuit driver in the pits too early, I think. And so Milt Matisse, Ericsson, and Cohan all may have another stop to make. Meanwhile, though, Cohan is just out there flying on those new tires.
Well, we got to keep an eye on Michael Krobach here. He's actually been out longer than Gary Whitson and Brian Yazik. It's been 31 laps, and that's a lap longer than what. And actually, I take that back. Bryce Whitson's down pit road. He made it 33 laps.
And he's pitting with 33 laps to go.
Austin Missler is also, last time he was on pit road was 33 laps ago. And 31 of Mark McCrary's in. Missler's in. That's 33 laps, Sam. That's right on the borderline from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, Mark McCrary almost lost it on pit entry. Fortunately, he was able to hold it together. It would have been devastating for him to show away a top 5 after a solid run he's had tonight.
Pursuit driver Jeffrey Gilliam's down pit road in the 61 machine. Brian Yazik's in. Yep. 31 laps was Yazik. Krobach's in.
Gary Whitson too.
Now the big thing right here, folks, is you gotta avoid mistakes on pit road, and the biggest mistake a driver could do is overshoot his pit box.
I almost wonder if Yazik was speeding the time. Oh, and Gary Whitson definitely overshot his stall. Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of time cost on Gary Whitson's part.
He actually clipped the wall as well. Want to see, okay, Brian's going, so he wasn't speeding on entry, unless of course we see him come for a drive-through next time by. He just had the back end kicked out a little bit when he went by the cone, so I was a little concerned for Brian there. Now, as he rejoins the circuit, of course, Nick Cohan is far, far ahead of him. But I still think Cohan has to pit again.
I honestly think he has to pit again too, Sam. The longest I have seen, according to my stats right here, that of what I'm reading here, is the longest I've seen a car go was 33 laps. So, and Edward Bray is actually our leader right now. He's been out there for 31 laps. Lee Staples is 32. Jonathan Holstein has been 31. And those are the only 3 trucks that on track that have yet to pit.
Robert Barber just hit the wall coming out of 4, but held on to it and will stay green flag for now. Of course, as you mentioned, Tanner, caution would change a whole lot of things. Lee Staples is Lee Staples out of fuel?
Yes, sir. He's out of gas.
Well, this could change everything. Mind you, if he stops on the apron on the back straight, that won't bring out the caution. Lee Staples was one of our drivers who had yet to pit.
Oh boy.
As long as he keeps it down there, it won't bring out a caution. Edward Bray is into the stall. And Jonathan Holstein too.
Yes, Lee Staples, he's on the back switch now. He's out of gas. And there is a caution!
Wow, I didn't expect that would come out. Now, who does this benefit?
What brought the caution?
I think it's because Staples pitted, stopped on the apron. I thought iRacing would ignore that, but that turned out to not be the case. So, Cohan this benefits because he's actually the race leader with Bray and Holstein having just pit. Now, I think this will help Bray and Holstein because they'll be on the tail end of the lead lap.
Man, I'm looking at all the treads here, Sam, and I don't know if this is going to help Nick Cohan really or not, because Cohan's got a lot more laps on those tires than what Yazik has. But cars in the back of the pack, though, who's going to get the lucky dog?
That was Edward Bray. You just saw it on the grass there. What's happening there, I think, is Edward Bray was trying to get back around Nick Cohan so he could get on the tail end of a lead lap. And as a matter of fact, Jonathan Holstein is now spinning under caution. But he just goes for trailing in the grass.
Gotta let everybody by, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, I think Bray's getting the DSD lucky dog here. Anyway, Cohan is coming into the pits. Yazik and Ericsson are too. Now, Cohan's going to take 4 tires. I'm pretty certain of that. Will Yazik, though? Because he just pitted a few laps ago.
You have to. I mean, right now, you can, since pitting right here, you can make it to the end, Sam. And you got to take 4 fresh tires, in my opinion, and race it out.
Of course, now that we've had this one caution, it's probably not going to be the last one.
I see crazy things happen before.
Cohan takes 4 tires, and he is not the first off pit road. Gary Whitson and Michael Krobach took 2.
Our lucky dog, I believe, went to Michael Koenig. Yes, sir, it did.
Okay, so Michael Koenig got the DSD lucky dog. When we saw Edward Bray going around there, that's because he was on the tail end of a lead lap. And it was very close for Edward Bray. He crossed the pit exit line just about a second before Nick Cohan came charging by. So that was lucky for Edward Bray to stay on the lead lap there. And of course, Bray is going to benefit here in that he pitted right when the caution came out, although he's having to yield some of those spots there, it looks like.
Oh boy, time to catch our breath now before something happens on a restart, I guess.
So Gary Whitson and Michael Krobach took 2 tires. It has worked for Nick Cohan for most of the race. As long as they can keep it out front, it will probably work for them too, as there you get an idea of what the top 10 is like. The problem is can they hold on? I mean, one of the reasons we saw Nick Cohan hold on to that lead earlier on, as well as I believe Jordan Ericsson was up there, was because there was a massive battle, a massive scrap going on around 3rd and 4th place that stopped the drivers on 4 fresh Goodyears from being able to run them down. If that isn't the case this time, who knows, these drivers on 2 tires could be sitting ducks.
Yeah, you know, as I look at the number of laps, Sam, because right now these caution laps are kind of helping Gary and Michael Krobach. And we got 25 laps to go. We're probably going to get the green flag with 23 laps to go. If we stay green, I don't think those 2 tires is going to benefit Gary and Michael. But if we get a set of cautions, I think that was a right strategy call. That's if we get a set of cautions, though.
Alright, well, Josh Tanner is about to get the lucky dog here, which will help out one of our pursuit drivers. Lee Staples, for those of you curious, is not a pursuit driver, so our latest caution didn't knock anyone out of any big points days. As a matter of fact, other than Josh Tanner, Robert Barney and Aaron Cleanhans, who have all hit trouble today, Milt Matisse is still our last pursuit driver, but he's back in 10th. So every pursuit driver who is not Josh Tanner, Robert Barney and Aaron Cleanhans has had a good day so far. But as you mentioned, Tanner, there could be another caution in the not too distant future, and that could change everything.
Yeah, Josh Tanner actually and Jackie Pelmore are taking the wave around here since it is on the 1 to go signal. Josh Tanner has actually been out there. He's got sets about 5 laps on those tires, so he should be okay. But his aerodynamics is hurting him. He's only been getting up to 175 miles an hour on the straights, so hopefully he can weigh this one out and try better next week at New Hampshire.
Well, what Josh Tanner is secretly hoping for, of course, is a wreck. Because if he can finish the last car on the lead lap, well, the less cars there are on the lead lap, the better spot he gets. Anyway, yeah, Gary Whitson really letting the pace car escape from him so he can get an early launch here, and that's what he does. The battle is already going to be for second.
Here comes Yazek on the higher line side. He got a great restart. He's going to be 3 wide as they head down into turn number 1.
Yeah, Brian worked out what Gary Whitson was going to do there. Gary's gotten a nice lead because of it. Brian can't do anything on the high side of Cohan and Crowbot because it was a higher way around, so he'll try the low side.
Okay, here he goes down to the bottom of the track. Is Cohan going to come from slack? Yikes! He got pinched down there, definitely there. And there's some radio communication going on with that exchange.
Meanwhile, Crowbot has really ran Gary Whitson down through turns 3 and 4. Could we be seeing a lead change in the not too distant future?
And that lead right there, Krobach, the 2 tire guys, Krobach and Whitson running 1-2 at the moment. Cohan on those 4 fresh tires, still trying to gun for more, but Yazek's doing everything he can to get around Cohan because Yazek, he knows he's got the truck to win this race.
There was a bit of contact going down the back straight in the battle for 5th between Jordan Erickson and Bryce Whitson. They're still running quite close together.
Yeah, Erickson, he keeps getting loosened up just a little bit from somebody.
Yeah, these 2 battling for 5th place. The driver 6 right behind them is Mark McCrary, who will actually make a move on Bryce Whitson now.
Back through the field here, Jeffrey Gilliam up into the 8th place. Sam, I mean, that's the highest he's been all day, but it's great for him because he needs to get a good, consistent finish, or at least some kind of good, consistent finish for that matter.
Yeah, well, the problem Gilliam has right now is a battle going on by ahead of him. He would love them to get all single file, and he would, I think, walk out here pretty happy with an 8th place finish. Or Bryce pushes up the track, he could get 7th here.
Good, but right now there's nowhere for Gilliam to go. Probably the bottom, which he is going to do. Entering turn number 3. Had to lift out of the gas a little bit, otherwise he probably would have bumped the left rear quarter panel of Bryce. That's some good racing right there.
Well, less than 20 laps left to go now. Gary has built up a lead over Krobach again. And the ahead of us are all single file, and in fact I think this is the first time since the restart everyone is single file.
Believe it or not, Sam, this is actually the biggest lead a 2-tire driver has had. The top 2 guys are only 2/10 off each other, and then you gotta go a couple tenths back to 3rd place, and that is to Nick Cohan and Brian Yazek. So 2 tires so far is working out, but with 20 laps to go, or less than 20 laps to go, I just wonder how those 2 tires are really going to hold up.
Yeah, and let's not forget that these drivers on 2 tires, their left sides aren't that old. They just had to round a pit stop ahead of that caution. I mean, it was from a driver who didn't pit in time that brought the caution out. But like you mentioned, what will happen later on in the run, well, we'll find out hopefully in the coming minutes. If it stays green, it should be over within 10 minutes or so if they keep it under the green flag. Right now the battle for the lead is closing down a bit again. Krobach 8 up into Gary Whitson, but catching is one thing, passing is another.
I tell you what, Sam, if these top 2 guys start battling it out, that's going to allow Nick Cohen and Yazek to really catch them.
Unless Cohan and Yazek begin battling for 3rd, because Yazek has really caught up with Cohan here. Now I wonder if they're going to be talking to each other and realise that running single file is the best thing for them to do now, and they're going to run down the top 2. But we'll see if Yazek attempts anything down the back straight. He's thinking about it.
Looking. Get in there, battle for the lead though.
Yeah, as they go by the lap truck of Barber, Krobach couldn't do anything there, but yeah, Yazek just took 3rd place from Cohan.
Oh, they were really zooming by a lap car there, but...
yeah, that's Robert Barber. Oh, and he gets close. Mark McCrary there.
That could have been big.
Yeah, at least Barber's staying up high. He's letting the drivers behind him know the path's low. The problem is all the trucks want to wash up on the exit of the turns. All battle for 7th one again. Bryce Whitson looking underneath Jeffrey Gilliam there.
Yeah, Gilliam caught Barber at the wrong time, which was the exit of the corner of turn 2. And he had a great line going, but he had to actually lift to get down underneath Barber. And when he did that, that allowed Whitson to really get up towards him. But Whitson didn't make the pass just yet on Gilliam.
Believe it or not, I think Michael Krobach might actually be Gary Whitson's best friend here, as much as he is thinking about taking the lead from him, because if Brian Jarzik runs Krobach down, well, mind you, they're teammates. So if Brian Jarzik did run run Krobach down, maybe Krobach would let him by easily enough. But I think Whitson really wants Jarzik to run Krobach here, and for those two the battle for 2nd, and then Gary would be able to take home the win, but that's not going to happen in time. Krobach has all of a sudden turned from a potential friend of Whitson into an enemy, because there could be a battle for the lead here now with Krobach right on Whitson's rear bumper.
Oh man, they're coming really fast off turn number 4, almost hitting the wall. Still is sucking up into that draft of Gary Whitson. And oh, he's looking. Oh, had to lift it just a little bit.
You do have the lift on the entry of these corners. When you have 4 fresh Goodyears, you can get away with taking turns 3 and 4 flat out. But on these old tyres, you've got the lift. Oh, and Gary comes down to get turned. Jarzik slows up, Kohan goes high, Gary's still skidding, they all get by. That could have been really bad, that won't end the race.
Well, that changes everything. Wow. I can't believe how many guys dodged that incident.
Nice job by Gary to lock the brakes down, and these two will disagree about that, but Krobach definitely was on the inside. He did have a lot of room that he could have used on the inside lane. So Krobach will argue, hey, I had my fender on the inside of you. Gary will argue, well, yeah, but you were running up in the high lane.
Well, I don't know however you want to interpret, but I guess that's just racing, you know. But, I mean, on a race fan standpoint, that somebody would say that. But, I mean, you hate when things come down like that. I mean...
And of course you see Brian Jarzik did a nice job there to go into 2nd position, and now we'll get Kohan's view. He went high. Meanwhile, pit road is open, and I can tell you they are all coming into the pits. Krobach is leading them all into the pits, so once we see this replay, I think we're about to see a lot of 2-tire stops. Oh, and Kohan got in the wall there. No. Kohan's on the inside of Jarzik. I'm hoping Jarzik can get to his pit stall alright. He does.
Alright. 4 tires, I assume. Kohan and Ericsson, 2 tires.
Yeah, I'm thinking you've got to go 2. Michael Krobach 4 is going to cost him a lot of track position. And we've seen that 2 tires. It's just it hasn't been that bad today.
It hasn't been that bad.
Yeah. Krobach and Jarzik took 4 tires. I just don't agree with that. Edward Bray stayed out.
I don't know. I've always been a 4-tire guy, Sam, because they usually just worked out for me. It's better handling for the car / truck, whatever I'm driving. But I don't know. We've had a lot of... That was a pretty good green flag stint that we just had there. And we've never had anybody take 2 tires on that long of a green flag run before. Maybe after 5 laps, but that was definitely longer than 5 laps that we ran green flags. So we'll have to see how this 2-tire strategy really plays out.
Well, of course, a caution right as a restart would not end the race. I think we'll still have enough laps left for 2 attempts to try and finish this race here.
Got the lucky dog, right? SD lucky dog?
Not entirely sure who got back on the lead lap there. I was watching everything that was going on up front.
Yeah, Jonathan Holstein will get the DSD lucky dog award. Actually down pit road now pitting, but he got one of those laps back.
He's 2 laps down. I was almost wondering if, well, Josh Tanner got on the previous caution. I can't recall if Jackie Pelmore was a lap down to begin with or not. There was so much going on up front.
Nick
Edward
pits.
Yeah, well, Cohan's already at the back to begin with. I mean, he's got some damage to repair. Maybe he pit and he realised he was restarting at the tail end anyway, so thought, hey, come in and get the rest of his damage repaired.
Yes, sir. I mean, might as well, I guess.
Edward Bray has not pit at all, though. He'll need to fill back to green. He will have clean air.
He'll have clean air to work with, but, man, I don't know. I would vote for tires, if anything, at this point, stages of the race. I mean, we're going to go back green either way, but if a caution does come out, Sam, that's pretty much more than likely going to end the race because iRacing does not do green-white checkers.
I don't think so. We're going to have 7 laps to go at the restart. I think if we had one right at the restart, we would still be able to have a 2-lap shootout.
Well, I got my head all spinning on these pit strategies that's been going on, but...
Well, what we know is that the pace car lights are off. We're about to have a 7-lap shootout here. Caution within the first couple of laps of a restart means we might have a bit of a shootout at the end. If it takes a little bit longer than that, a caution would end the race. Edward Bray is out there on old tyres. He hasn't really been running up front all race long, but Jordan Eriksson and Bryce Whitson and a couple more trucks behind them, including Milt Matisse, Austin Messler, are on 2 tyres, and then you get back to Michael Krobach with 4. I just think that's too much work for Krobach to do, but we'll wait and find out. Ford Mustang pace car about to make the hard left turn. Edward Bray will have control of the field. He's already on the loud pedal. He's got a couple car lengths over Ericsson. How long can he hold on to that lead?
I don't know, but I think it's going to happen in between turn 1 and 2. Actually, might come off turn number 2. Just 2-tire difference versus no tires. Let's see if Ericsson can get to his back bumper off the corner of the exit. Not quite there.
Meanwhile, Jarzik passed Krobach to be the first driver on 4 tyres, but he's still back in 5th place. He's got to get by Milt Matisse, Bryce Whitson, Jordan Eriksson, and race leader Edward Bray. Eriksson looking on the inside of Bray.
Yes, sir, on the bottom side of the track. You can use that apron to your advantage, but be careful coming back up.
Yeah, I think Bray's going to get free trained here a little bit on those old tyres. Of course, if a caution came out right now, though, he'd still walk home with a top 5 finish.
Ooh.
Look at Jarzik.
Oh man, look at this! Up.
Oh yeah. That's Bryce Whitson looking on Ericsson. I was looking on Jarzik trying to make a move on Milt because I think if Jarzik can get up there, he could have something to say with those 4 tyres. But yeah, this battle for the lead is on 2.
Everybody up here is on 2. The first car on 4 tires is Brian Jarzik, and he's still moving forward. But look at this gaggle of cars, Sam.
Yeah, Bryce almost turned down a bit there, and Jordan had to check up, and that costs him 2nd position to Milt Matisse, maybe more. What a great round by Milt Matisse right now to be up there in 2nd place.
Tell you what, I am counting 12 cars in this pack, Sam. I am not joking. And the way these guys are racing, we're in for a recipe of a 12-car accident.
And Milt Matisse is politely saying, Jordan, you've already got a win in the pursuit. You're the only guy locked into the elimination round of 8. Give me this win. But it's not going to happen because right now Milt Matisse has Brian Jarzik all over the back of him. Brian has those 4 fresh good years. If it goes green to the end, Brian could be thinking about the race win here.
Oh man, I feel bad for Bryce Whitson right now. He's stuck on that higher side, got nowhere to go. He wants that bottom line, but he can't take it. Oh boy, this is tight,
Yeah, Milt Matisse slid up. He would be doing a fail in 2nd place, but now it's going to hurt him. And I think, as Bryce Whitson gets close to the wall.
Gary Whitson, contact. I think that was Jeffrey Gilliam that made contact with Gary there.
Yeah, Gary doing a really nice job coming back from... as here goes Brian Jarzik. Gary, remember, spun to bring out the previous caution. 2 laps to go. Brian Jarzik taking the lead. I think he's just taken the win.
I think he has. Those 4 fresh tires is really paying off right now. Maybe if there was a 5-lap old tires, maybe. But, man, still a big gaggle of cars, man. Like, top 10 cars.
Oh, but look at this. Ericsson is not giving up on this. If they can make it to the white flag, they'll be racing for the end.
Contact!
Beating doors for the lead. And the reason there's a big train behind is because Bryce Whitson is doing it well. Dropped hold onto third on all tyres as Michael Krobach underneath him on 4 tyres trying to make that move. Ryan Jarczyk wins the race out of 4, but they have taken the white flag. Now we are racing to the checkers.
And the big race is on for 3rd place here. I mean, you got 3 cars going at it right here, and there is contact in the back, outside the top 5 there. But the big battle for 2nd place.
These 2 are on 2 tyres, Ericsson and Bryce. Bryce has been doing an incredible job to hold on with 2 tyres despite the dirty air that he's in. Don't come down on Jordan, that wouldn't be good. But meanwhile, Brian Jarczyk coming out of a final turn as a beating doors behind him. Brian Jarczyk wins here at Chicagoland. Gary Whitson is spinning.
Yes, sir, Gary Whitson spin. What a run for Brian Jarczyk on winning Chicagoland. What a race, what a finish.
Has Gary crossed the line? I'm not sure.
I think he did.
Okay, but he crossed the line in 13th place.
Yeah, he was spinning when he crossed the line there, Sam.
Man, that's a tale of 2 Whitsons right there. I mean, I know Brian Jarczyk won, and that locks him into the pursuit, but Gary, who looked like a driver who could win this race, he was at the back because he got spun. He was trying to rally his way back through the field and on the last turn spins again. Whereas Bryce Whitson, who was kind of causing that big pack racing just by doing such a great job at holding on with old tyres there, he came home and finished in 2nd place. And that, I don't know how he or any of the drivers behind him didn't get in a wreck in that final stint.
I have no idea. All I seen was Gary Whitson. He actually touched the apron with his left front tire, and the truck just snapped around on him. So, very unfortunate for Gary Whitson's finish tonight. But I mean, what a big whale of racing from I think I call it like 10 or 12 cars that were in one big pack. To me, it reminded me of Talladega racing, man. That was just awesome.
You do drive these cars flat out, not quite flat out, but yeah, don't think a lot of the drivers were dreaming the race would finish like that. I think I had my questions when it got spread out in the middle, and also when that pack was going on to the end of there. But anyway, while Brian Jarczyk continues to burn it down on the front straight, we're going to take it to a quick break. We will be back with a full race rundown as well as driver interviews. Hello and welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway, where we just witnessed 100 laps of racing action here in the True Power Oil 150. This race tonight was brought to you by True Power Motor Oil, whose products include True Power Racing Oil, True Power Engine Treatment, and True Power Clutch Spray. Check them out at www.holeinonemotorsports.biz and click on the tab that says True Power Oil Products to find out more. And Brian Jarzik probably had some of that True Power under his hood as he raced home to a win here tonight, half a second ahead of Bryce Whitson. When all was said and done, Bryce had a ton of trucks on his rear bumper as they crossed the line. Jordan Erickson in third, Michael Krobach in fourth, and Austin Mislin fifth. Didn't really mention him today, but he is a pursuit driver who's looking pretty good in the points now after that top 5 finish. All of them finished within a second of Brian Jarzik. Jeffrey Gilliam salvaged a 16th place finish. I think I'm going to go ahead and give him the M-Spec Hard Charger of a Race award there, coming from 16th to finish 6th. That was Jeffrey Gilliam, ahead of Milt Matisse in 7th, Mark McCrary, our first non-pursuit driver, in 8th, Troy Haight and Tim Knott rounded up the top 10.
Outside the top 10, Edward Ray finishes in the 11th position. Michael Koenig finishes 12th. Gary Whitson, after spin on the final lap in turns 3 and 4, will finish in the 13th position. Josh Tanner in 14th. Jackie Pelmore in 15th. 16th place is Nick Cohen, the last car in the lead lap. Jonathan Holstein in 17th. 18th is Lee Staples. 19th is Alan Young, and Robert Barber rounding out the top 20. Robert Barney finishing 21st. Aaron Kleinhans finishing in the 22nd position in the 22-car field, and Nicky Formosa rounding out 23rd, who did not race tonight.
Yeah, so those drivers didn't get to feature in our little shootout at the end there, but these drivers that we're about to talk to did, and we'll begin with our third place finisher, Jordan Erickson. Jordan, you locked yourself into the pursuit 2 weeks ago at Motorsport, so I'm sure you were just out there having fun today, looking for another win. You didn't get a win, but boy, it sure looked like a lot of fun.
Oh man, that was a blast. I just wanted to make sure I didn't ruin anybody else's race while trying to race hard with all those guys, and everybody raced real clean. It was just a real fun racing. Congrats to Brian on locking himself into the next round.
How close did you all get to coming back to pit road on rollbacks there in those final stints? It looked like it was very close.
It never got too crazy, like from my point of view. I think Bryce touched my right rear a little bit and shot up the track. I don't know. I just kept eyes forward at that point because I had clean track in front of me, and I was trying to keep it that way. But you know, like I said, I didn't want to destroy anybody. That'd never be good either.
We really thought tyres were going to play a big role, and they did. I mean, they fell off a lot. The drivers who used the undercut strategy would emerge from the pits with several seconds over the trucks that they had been battling. But the 2 versus 4 tyres really confused us all race long. It really didn't seem like there was much of a downside to taking 2 tyres here.
Yeah, the right sides the left sides just didn't seem to care how much wear they had on them, especially after you got maybe 10 laps into a run, everything was about the same. I was super impressed with how far Nick came out of the pits in front of us after that first pit stop. He was like 5 seconds. I pitted 1 lap after him, and he come out 6 seconds in front of me. So he must have just absolutely killed it on pit entry and all that stuff, which I kind of took it easy getting on and off for that matter. And I think that's probably where he gained a lot of time. But yeah, 2 tires, I think, like I said, it really evened off at the end. But here at the short run with 10 laps, 7 laps, or whatever it was, that's when it really... I was hoping the 42, I think that was the 42, could hold Brian off for 1 more lap, and I think I could have done something, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, we do need to ask you about that pit entry on the first round of stops. I mean, I saw your message in the text chat that you were coming into the pit that time by, but there seemed to be a bit of confusion over that with Robert Barney and Joshua Tanner getting involved in the little collision there.
Yeah, so I race with an Oculus Rift, and every single week I forget to set my microphone up to use the Oculus mic. So even if I would have keyed up, it would have done absolutely nothing. So I was searching for my my one key and I hit it as many times as I could, and evidently he didn't see it. I don't know. I apologize if he thinks I didn't push the button, but I definitely did, and I would have liked to see what I would have done without that damage, because I come away with, I think, 15 seconds worth of damage, and I gotta think that hurt the truck a little bit.
Well, like we say though, you locked yourself in at Mosport, you put on a phenomenal show here today at Chicagoland. We look forward to seeing what you have in store for us 1 week's time at New Hampshire.
Thanks, guys.
That was our third place finisher, Jordan Erickson. Let's go one position up the podium where Tanner has called up with Bryce Whitson.
Catching up with Bryce Whitson, and Bryce, man, you were out in the top 10 pretty much throughout the day, and it came down to it where you were racing with a whole big pack of gaggle of cars surrounding you, and somehow you still finished in second place. How did you finish in second place tonight?
I'll tell you, Tanner, that was a heck of a fun race there at the end. My goal coming into the night was just to compete for a top 8. Make sure I finished there, to make sure I got to the next round. And when we got that opportunity there at the end with just a few laps on our tires to come in, I figured, well, if I take 2, the worst I'm going to do is probably finish about 10th, and it really paid off for me.
Well, your consistency tonight is really what brought you to, because you were on the borderline on possibly missing out of the top 8. We were talking about you on the top of the show, and right now with the second place finish, that is good for points, so you will be ahead of that cutoff line there, but staying consistency is the biggest key. How pressured are you feeling right now entering our next race at New Hampshire after a second place finish at Chicagoland?
I'll tell you, Tanner, I've been really hit or miss at Loudon. Sometimes I'll go there and I'll do really well. Other times I'll go there and I'll just be terrible. So, I'm hoping this week that we'll have a decent run there. And again, finish, like I say, that top 8 is all I'm shooting for right now. A top 5 would be even better. Coming into the next round of the chase, I think there's some more tracks that are better suited to my driving style. And, we just want to hold on and give HPP Simulation a good finish here in this iROC HPP Simulation Pursuit of the Pedals.
I tell you what, the iROC HPP Simulation Pursuit for the Pedals, True Power or Oil 150 at Chicagoland Speedway has just become one of my favorite races of this series. With the amount of great racing you guys produce on the racetrack was just absolutely phenomenal, especially in the last 7 laps when you guys went back green flag. Phenomenal racing. I tip my hat to each and every single one of you. So before we let you go for the evening, is there anything else you would like to say before we let you go?
Yeah, Tanner, tonight was a great race, but most of us out there tonight were racing with a little bit of heavy hearts. For those who are not aware, Mark Hargett, who owns HPP Simulation, his father passed last week. So this was a big race. This is our first race since he passed away, since his father passed away, and we just really want to send our condolences out to Mark. He supported us a lot, and he's who's made this series possible and made us be as popular as we are. So we just wanted to send our condolences to Mark and wish him and his family the best, and go from there.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are with Mark as well there, Bryce, and great finish on finishing second here at Chicagoland, and hopefully you can keep up with this momentum entering New Hampshire.
Hey, thank you, Tanner. Have a good night.
That was Bryce Whitson finishing in the second position tonight. That's podium finish there for him. But Sam, you're down in victory lane catching up with Brian Yazik.
Yeah, here we go. We have called up with Brian in victory lane. First off, Brian, congrats on the win and locking yourself into the elimination round of 8.
Hey, thank you. That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely was. It seemed like you really know how to work that draft. You must have gotten some experience earlier today.
Yeah, I got a little experience helping out a fellow commentator there, Sammy.
Yeah, seriously though, how did you get the job done? I mean, you came in, you were fastest in practice, you started in 4th, you were running up front all race long, but at the end of the day there, it came down to about a 7-lap shootout. Tyres were a big call. How did you go about making your decision?
Well, when it boiled down to it, there was enough laps that I didn't really feel comfortable with 2, and then it was kind of that gray area, and I thought, well, you know what? we're gonna throw 4 bad boys at this thing, and we're just gonna let it eat, because all night I was trying to save the tires and make it kind of work out that way. But you know, I really wish it would have ran green and we wouldn't have had any more cautions, because Nick, I think Nick was going to be short by like 2 or 3 laps worth of gas, and I was good, so I was fine with I was going to be fine with how it was going to finish out. But you know, just kind of worked out, and it came down to it, and I thought, you know, everything was going to kind of fail again, and we were going to be kind of out of a good finish, but we made it work, and that's really about it.
There was, I believe it was that last caution, or one of the last cautions in the race, that got a bit hairy for you when the 2 leaders came together, Michael Krobach and Gary Whitson. You had to slam on your brakes to avoid them.
Yeah, I was thinking I was going to just smoke one of them either in the door or the right rear, but you know, thanks to whatever decided to make it stop just in time, and I was able to get away and not hit anybody and kind of set that one up. So yeah, that was nuts. I mean, I hated to see Mikey and Gary hit like that, and I probably could have run them down just by themselves, but I was kind of glad it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you don't need the win next week at New Hampshire, but do you think that if you hadn't won today, that you could be looking at a W in 7 days' time?
I absolutely think so. New Hampshire is one of my favorite tracks out there on the simulator, and if you want to play some GSRC history, it's the first track I got a win on GSRC on, so it holds a special place in my heart for that place. And yeah, I mean, you know, at the point that I'm at, yeah, I'm in the next round. That's great, but you know, I could maybe, you know, make it a little bit more difficult for someone else trying to, you know, get a win in advance and stuff like that. So we're just going to go out and try to win it, and see if we can go back to back, man. This feels great. This is awesome. I couldn't believe it stuck on the high side there for 2 laps in a row, man. Oh.
Yeah, absolute. Really good job tonight, Brian. So we'll see you basically doing what Jordan did tonight then in 1 week's time.
That's what we're going to go for. Hey, really quick, hearts are real heavy out here in iROC. Mark lost his father this past week, so we're all thinking about him. I dedicate this win to Ron Hargett, and yeah, it just gutted for Mark on that one. Their whole family. Really hope that they find some strength in an hour of darkness.
Yeah, and we absolutely would like to echo those sentiments from you, from Bryce, and also everyone in the in GSRC and the iROC HPP simulation series. And we wish our best to Hargett's family. That being said, that pretty much wraps up a really strong broadcast, as Tanner mentioned. Perhaps one of the best races of the iROC HPP simulation truck series this season, and it comes at a good time, Tanner, when a lot of drivers are fighting for this championship and thinking about what they need to do next week at New Hampshire, the race into the top 8.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure, and it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm just curious on where Jeffrey Gilliam's going to end up once the points get updated after Chicagoland, as we head forward to New Hampshire to see, because he did gain points today, but how much points? Prior to Chicagoland, he was 20 points, actually about 11 points out of the cutoff line. So we'll have to really see. It's going to get really tight, and that's going to up the vamp of racing next week in New Hampshire.
Yeah, give you a bit of an update on that. Aaron Kleinhans and Robert Barney, we think, are going to be struggling a bit. Milt Matisse, Jeffrey Gilliam, Josh Tanner and Gary Whitson, it looks like all going to be fighting for bubble spots. So be sure to check it out next week at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We would like to thank True Power Oil Products for coming on and sponsoring tonight's race, as well as the organisers and the competitors in the iROC HPP Simulation Truck Series for coming here tonight and putting on a fantastic show. We would also like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware that you see listed on your screen. Thanks to the team today, Tanner Sharp, Joe Peak and our camera guru Dougie Beard. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, hey, I did it for once, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/GSR youtube.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. A special thanks goes out to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide us with our music. You can buy Eric's on iTunes and Spotify, and Casey's at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. All of our upcoming races for our other series on screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.